Hello everyone and welcome to Garmisch Partenkirchen in Germany. The Audi FIS Alpine Ski World Cup Tour, round number 6 of 8 of the 2014-2015 season. Ian Findlay in the commentary box on a rather cold and foggy day here in Garmisch. Famous part of the world here in southern Germany, in Bavaria, very close to the Zugspitze mountain, Germany's highest mountain, 2,962 meters. And of course, Garmisch Partenkirchen hosted the 1936 Winter Olympic Games. Well, conditions are far from ideal for giant slalom number 6 of the 2014-15 season. First run coming up in just a few moments' time. All the big names here, as you'd expect. So far this season, it's been the Marcel Hirscher show. 4 wins in 5 races. And he is 138 points ahead of his nearest challenger, Ted Ligety, world champion from the USA. Chance to look in a little more detail at this Kandahar piste here. 420 meters, the vertical drop. A length 1,310 meters, all in the trees as well. And that might help a little bit today with the visibility, with the definition on the snow. With it being quite flat light, very overcast. A little bit of light snow falling as well. So 3 degrees at the start, 2 at the finish, above freezing. They'll be salting the snow as well. Not quite the conditions you want to be skiing giant slalom in. Marcel Hirscher focuses on his warm-up there. And he leads the tour standings by 138 points over Ligety. Pinturault in third. He's 150 points back. Still 300 up for grabs, including today's race. Well, good crowds filling up here in Garmisch, as you'd expect, as they always do here in this part of the world. A little bit closer in the overall race for the Crystal Globe. Hirscher leads by 104 points over Jansrud. Of course, we have more speed races next weekend in Kvitfjell in Norway. Danny Raich, the Blitz from pits, going through his warm-up routines. Local man Felix Neureuter perhaps would prefer to be racing a slalom, but no slouch in giant slalom, that's for sure. And the German fans will certainly be supporting Neureuter, that's for sure. And of course, Fritz Dopfer. What a World Championships Dopfer and Neureuter had. Great success for the German slalom team at the World Championships just a couple of weeks ago, where the World Cup Tour taking a break for quite a lot of February to head to those 2015 World Championships in Vale Beaver Creek. Well, Neureuter grabbed the bronze in the slalom. Fritz Dopfer grabbing the silver. Chance to look at the bib draw now. Neureuther, he'll be first out of the start gate, followed by his teammate Fritz Dopfer. Those medalists from the recent World Championships. The veteran now, Benny Reich, going at bib 3, and it's a day where experience could be very valuable. The man everyone's chasing this season, and for many a season, Marcel Hirscher. Pinturault, the man from Courchevel, bib 5. Ted Ligety, GS World Champion, start 6. Thomas Vanara in wearing bib 7. Outsider for today's event. But in these conditions, it could be a very open race. 2-run contest, of course. Just the top 30 to make the second run. Fritz Dopfer, second out of the gate, starting in just a couple of moments' time. Benny Reich wearing bib 3. Best of 4th for Benny Reich this season, opening 2 rounds of the GS Tour. Solden and Beaver Creek. Ted Ligety sits in second in the standings. He won in Beaver Creek on home snow back on the 7th of December. A couple of second places since then, but it hasn't quite been the season he's wanted. 7th in Adelboden for Ted Ligety. Hirscher won the opening round, 3rd in Beaver Creek, 1 in Ora, 1 in Alta Badia, and he won in Adelboden on the famous Königsbergli Piste on the 10th of January. The last time we raced giant slalom on the World Cup Tour. Here's the start list in full. As we've seen, Neureuther and Dopfer will kick things off for the German team before the Austrian powerhouses Benny Reich, Marcel Hirscher, 3 and 4. Leif Christian Haugen could be a man to watch out for, wearing bib 13. And the Germans expected to go well on home snow. Stefan Lutz wearing bib 20 for the German team. Last of the top 30. Blardoni, bib 29. Giant slalom specialist. These skiers outside of the top 30, well, for them it is all about breaking through into that top 30 for the second run. In these conditions, I'm expecting to see slightly bigger time gaps, but that could open it up a little more for those athletes outside of the top 30. And the later starters as well might just have a chance today. 57 in total on the start list. Natko Zrnicdim from Croatia will be the last man to tackle the Kandahar piste today on the first run. One minute to go. Neureuther will kick things off. He's just tightening those boots up, getting ready to start his challenge here on home snow in Garmisch, Partenkirchen. World Cup number 6 of the 2014-15 season on the Giant Slalom World Cup Tour. Underway, run number 1, Felix Neureuther, the local lad, 30 years old, the first man on course. And our first chance to have a look at this first pattern of gates set by Raich, the Austrian coach. And Neureuther will set the time everyone else will be chasing and see light snow falling. Snow conditions, despite the warm air temperatures, pretty hard underfoot. I'm expecting it to cut up just a little bit. A few changes with the rhythm on this course. It's a long track as well. The legs will be burning on this hill. And this is solid so far from Neureuther. No major mistakes in the run. Now you have to just release on the bottom section. Let those skis run through the final pattern of turns as Neureuther can now see the finish line and his home fans cheering him on. Felix Neureuther, the German superstar. Just a couple of gates to go, sets the early benchmark time across the line, 1:25.48. Neureuther now has to sit back and see how well that run stands up against the best of Austria, Switzerland, his German teammates, the USA. And you can see just how tiring this giant slalom run is. Dopfer on course, 27 years old. Also a local lad, 7 podiums in his career, 3 in giant slalom. Big mistake there early on the run, getting those skis sideways. And we'll see if that's reflected. Well, it's not. 0.02 of a second advantage for Fritz Dopfer on the early time check. Now the German, for me, just skiing a little more aggressively than Neureuther. Maybe that'll be the way to get the best out of the skis on this course. Second time split. And it's dropped a little bit, just 200ths the wrong side of the clock now for Fritz Dopfer. Little late in the line here, that might cost Dopfer a little more. Dopfer now, he can hear the fans, but he's still got a little bit of this course to go. Time check number 3. And the deficit grows, 0.28. Fritz Dopfer has some work to do on the bottom section. Passionate fans here in Garmisch-Partenkirchen. Dopfer standing a little tall, little late in the line, suggests the legs are a little heavy, crosses the line, oh, he's pulled it back at the bottom. Dopfer by 0.02 of a second, 1:25.46, moves into top spot. Well, for me, he started to relax a little towards the bottom. Now, Benjamin Raich, 37 years old. Rumours abound that this could be his last season on the World Cup Tour. 36 wins in his career, 92 podiums. One of the most successful Austrian skiers, one of the most successful ski racers in the history of the entire sport. But 0.29 off the pace of Fritz Dopfer at the first intermediate. Benny Raich has skied every discipline in every condition imaginable. He will not be fazed by this Kandahar piece today, and he's keeping in touch. 0.26 off the pace. That's not too bad. He can find a little more on the bottom section, but this is all about staying in touch for the second run through the steeper pitch. Benny Raich on a nice line here. And he's closed that gap, just 200ths the wrong side of a clock. 71 kilometers an hour on the speed gun. Benny Raich, the Austrian, looking to stay close to Fritz Dopfer. Best of 4th this season for Raich. What's he got on the first run? Raich takes it. 0.19. Well, that run got better and better for Benny Raich as it went on. And a wry smile from Raich. He knows that was good. "25-year-old Marcel Hirscher on course. 4 giant slalom wins this season. After the win in slalom in Zagreb, it made him the most successful Austrian slalom skier in the history of the sport, ahead of the man that he's trying to beat, Benny Raich. And look at the advantage, 0.62 on the top section. Hirscher, for me, running a deeper line than anyone else. He's staying loose, not fighting the hill. Huge advantage from Hirscher on the first run. What's the second time? It's grown to nearly a full second. Hirscher absolutely ripping this course to shreds. Still a long way to go. On the first run, of course, Hirscher just has to stay focused here, stay settled. Keeps running that deeper line. Oh, 1.5. This is an absolute demonstration of giant slalom skiing from Marcel Hirscher. The fourth man on course is tearing this race up. A few gates to go. Hirscher doesn't look tired at all. Keeps it going. Crosses the line. 1.99. Oh, unbelievable from Hirscher. What a first run that was. Shrugs his shoulders. I think he's a little surprised that the gap is that big. Well, beat that if you can. Now, Pinturault, 23-year-old from Courchevel, 8 World Cup wins in his career, 1 in giant slalom. Has just seen Marcel Hirscher blow this race apart. Pinturault here has just got to focus on his own race. Worry about that time gap of Hirscher. 0.36 off the pace on the top section. Got to remember, it's nearly 2 full seconds of an advantage that Hirscher has now at the top of the standings. Pinturault, an aggressive skier. He takes a lot of risk in his runs. 0.56, that's good. That's good. And normally we'd be saying, oh, that's pretty bad, but today, with the gap that Hirscher's put on the rest of the field, 0.56 really is in touch. Big mistake from Pinturault. The brakes are on. That's going to cost him a little more time. And the Frenchman sees that gap grow to 1.37. He's got to just minimize the damage now on the bottom section. And the Frenchman can see the finish line. 1.23, 123.28 Hirscher's time. Pinturault way back, of course. 125.43, 2.15 off the pace. Drops into third place. Ted Ligety, 30 years old now. World champion, 24 wins in this discipline. Coming off that gold medal at the World Championships. Ted Ligety, the master on these giant slalom skis. Handled the changes in the radius, for me, better than anyone else, but he's half a second off on the top section. And this is just looking a little scrappy in places from Ligety. I think the course already just cutting up slightly. And Ligety approaching the second time check. Over a second back already. It's damage limitation time for Ted Ligety on the first run. Pinturault had a big mistake here. No such trouble for Ligety though. The course just follows the terrain so well. Always moving, a little bump forming there. 2.29. Ligety losing time as this run goes on. Having to work so hard to stay on the line where Hirscher made it look effortless. Ted Ligety, he's going to be back, but by how much? Ligety, 126.12, 6th place, 2.84. Almost a look of disbelief from Ted Ligety there. Just thrown onto the heels there, losing that ski to snow contact for a fraction. As number 7, Thomas Vanara, starts off his first run challenge, the 33-year-old. Bit of a giant slalom specialist. All 6 of his World Cup podiums have come in this discipline. 0.61 behind the pace, behind the time of Hirscher on the first run. For me, Vanara taking a slightly higher, a more rounded line than Hirscher, 1.23 off the pace. Got to tighten that up, but there's not many skiers in the world that could just take the risk that Hirscher can take with the line. It's paid off today. Vanara, though, is losing more time here through the steep section. Oh, he's trapped a little on the inside ski, 1.52 off the pace. Nice recovery from Vanara. Starting to look like the legs are burning. The legs are getting a little heavy here. See the outside ski breaking away on just a couple of turns. Thomas Vanara crosses a line, 1:26.29, 3.01 off the pace. Well, we are going to see some big gaps today, that's for sure, particularly as this first run goes on. Here's the recovery from Vanara. Tim Jitloff from Park City in Utah, another GS specialist. Best of 5th on the World Cup Tour. For me, the snow getting a little heavier, and it's wet, thick, heavy snow today. And Jitloff in all sorts of trouble on the top section. Getting a little trapped towards the end of the turn. Unable to make that transition. Oh, he's trapped on the inside ski there. Has to throw everything. Diving across the hill with that lateral movement to get those edges set for the new turn. And Jitloff having a lot of trouble here on the first run. 1.27 off the pace. A little late in the line, standing a little tall already, trapped on the inside ski, and Jitloff with a huge error. And it's just all about seeing if he can keep the run going, get a second run. It might be tough with these mistakes, we just don't know. 3.29 off the pace, and we'll see as this race progresses. If any of the later starters drop a run in there, get in the top 30. I think this race, this course, these conditions are going to allow the later starters to have an opportunity. Jitloff, 4.15 off the pace, 1:27.43. But some huge errors on the run, and he is absolutely shattered. Well, as you would be. Here he's trapped on the inside ski, hands on the snow, twisted up. Sandell of Finland, 27 years old. Another of the men that focus on giant slalom on the World Cup Tour. Quite a nice top section, 0.4 off the pace. Sandell has quite a loose style, flows nicely from turn to turn. Doesn't look like he's fighting the mountain. Second time check, Sandell now over a second back. But he's clean with the edges through this section. Just trapped a little on the tails of the skis coming into the steeper section of the course. But Sandell holding it together well. Again, this now all about the second run. There's a little bump there. 2.12 off the pace. From this point on, if he can keep this anything under 3 seconds, that'll have to be a success for Sandell on the first run. Standing a little tall, the stance narrows slightly as the turns get a little closer together here. Just allows for the movement. 126.84, 3.56 off the pace. It's the bottom section of the course where Hirscher just built up so much of an advantage. Carried that speed from the midsection onto the flatter section at the bottom. Carlo Janka, the 2010 gold medalist in the Vancouver Games in Giant Slalom. The 09 World Champion, 10 World Cup wins in his career. Having some of the worst conditions we've seen so far. And I think that's why he's 0.81 off the pace on the top intermediate. Janka pushed a little low in the line, a little late. I think the gap is growing here, 1.19. The deficit now for Janka. He is an experienced skier. Skied this course before. We haven't raced here since 2013 on the World Cup Tour. And everyone is now just chasing an unbelievable time from Marcel Hirscher. 2.15 off the pace now, intermediate 3. Carlo Janka. He's got a lot of fans in the finish area. Travel with him throughout Europe. The cowbells are ringing. Carlo Janka. One gate to go across the line. 126.13 into 7th place. 2.85 off the pace, and they're starting to stack up quite tightly behind Hirscher. Mats Olson, 26-year-old from Sweden. 11th on the last Giant Slalom World Cup in Adelboden in Switzerland. That was back in January. The tour had taken a break because of the World Championships in Vale Beaver Creek. 0.63 the deficit. And Mats Olson, he's pushed very low there into the soft snow. Not the line you want to be skiing. Now Olson finds himself 1.36 off the pace. Through this transition now, the course dives onto this steeper section for a couple of gates. This is where you've got to hold the line. Oh, and Olson tripped up a little into another mistake as well. Some more time lost from Mats Olson, 1.91. Olson now with about 10 gates to go. 123.28 the time of Hirscher. And Olson, 6th place, 126.03, 2.75. Although, at first glance, that looks pretty bad. When he sees where 2nd, 3rd, 4th, etc. are all placed time-wise, I think he'll be not too disappointed with it in the end. First of the Italian challengers, Roberto Nani, 26-year-old, never been on the World Cup podium. He has taken some risk on the top section in ever worsening weather conditions. Trying to take quite a deep line, it's not paying off. 0.64 off the pace. And Roberto Nani. I like the approach he's going for here, though, not holding back. See if it's working for him at the second time check. 0.93, that's one of the better ones we've seen. This is where the mistakes have started to come for the athletes ahead of them. Just trapped a little on the outside ski before the steep section. Some small errors through here. You've got to be so dynamic. Oh, caught on the bump as well. 1.44. Nani still in touch for a good position. He's not going to take the lead. I think we all know that. But Roberto Nani, if he can keep this going through the final section of turns. Roberto Nani in the tuck across the line into 7th place. 1:26.06. 2.78 off the pace. Lost a little more than he'd have liked on the bottom section of the course. Leif Christian Haugen of Norway, 27 years old. Skied on the collegiate circuit in the USA. Represented the University of Denver. And a few more athletes starting to take that route for their development as world-class ski racers. Great programs out in the US and University of Denver. One of the stronger ones. 0.79 the deficit at the first time check, and it's grown to 1.37 for Haugen. The heavy snow is starting to make its way down the hill a little bit. It was just blanketing the top section of the course, but it's getting worse a little further down the course now. And Haugen, 2.13 off the pace at intermediate 3. Damage limitation time now for Haugen. Norwegian standing up a little taller. He's still working those skis from edge to edge. Outside ski breaking away a little bit. Just some small errors there, and it's 2.89. 10th place for Haugen. Shakes his head, but I think there's going to be a lot of people watching that run of Hirscher again. Thinking, how did he find that time? Race number 14, Victor Moufajonde from Val d'Isère. Beautiful resort in France, part of the l'Espace Killy region linked with Teen. Moufajonde grabbed his first World Cup podium of his career this season. That came in Wengen on the Lauberhorn in Alpine Combined. Moufajonde, a strong all-rounder. 0.71 off the pace at the first intermediate. Finds himself 1.33 back at intermediate 2, and Moufajonde isn't as clean as he'd like on the edges. Having to work exceptionally hard to get that purchase, that grip on the snow. Running just a little wide, 2.13 off the pace. The speed a little down. We've seen upwards of 72 kilometers an hour today on the first run. Moufajonde just trying to let those skis run as clean as he can through this bottom section. 12th place, 3.19. A little further back from the rest of the chasing pack there from Moufajonde. Well, he's not as out of breath as some. Last of the top 15. Youngster out of Norway, Henrik Kristoffersen. He's 20 years old. Already with 9 World Cup podiums in his career. He was 3rd in Adelboden. 0.6 off the pace. And Kristoffersen only knows a one way to ski, 100% maximum effort, Volgas from Kristoffersen. Sometimes it pays off for him. 1.29 off the pace. A course like this, in these conditions, it is all about the tactics skiing a smart line, managing the risk in the run. Taking the risk where you can. There's some tricky patterns of gates. That 2.31, the deficit. And Kristoffersen now just has to try and keep that time, I think, within 3 seconds. Anything within 3 seconds has got a shot at the podium, you know. Still a very long way to go in this race. It's 3.3, 13th place for Kristoffersen. That is going to be one he's a little frustrated about. Still, at 20 years old, more valuable experience. Normally a time gap like that, you would think no second run, but I think we'll see Kristoffersen in the second run with that. I think the gaps are only going to get a little bigger as this race goes on. So the leader, Marcel Hirscher, has blown everyone away. 1.99 the time gap. Benny Raich, his teammate, in second place. Pinturault in third. The two Germans, Dopfer and Neureuther, fourth and fifth. Jitloff rounds off the top 15. 4.15 off the pace. We'll see if that holds up for a second run. Here's Pinturault. Huge mistake in his run. Still managed to hang on to third place. Having to fight there. Benny Raich drawing upon the years of experience on the World Cup Tour. Finding some of the form of yesteryear, but Marcel Hirscher, textbook giant slalom skiing today. 1.99 ahead of everyone else. Nobody's going to get close to that for the remainder of this first run. But Hirscher still has to do it all on the second run with a new pattern of gates. And the difference will be, he'll be the last man to go on the second run. I don't think we're getting ahead of ourselves by saying that so early on the first run. Race of 16, Kjetil Jansrud from Norway, 29 years old, winner in the famous Hahnenkamm in the downhill in Kitzbühel back in January. If ever a ski racer wants to win a race, well, let's say that one has to be it. 0.71 off the pace for Jansrud. Few mistakes there on the top section. Not as precise as he'd like to be. But a few athletes have struggled on that section, getting pushed a little low. Not Jansrud. Course has been slipped. A few of the ruts scraped away. Just on the gap between bib 15 and 16. Now Jansrud. You can hear the ice underfoot, just how difficult these conditions are. 2.14. Jansrud having to work. It is absolute maximum effort today on this course. A few Norwegian fans in the finish. And Jansrud now can see the line. Crosses it. 1:26.28. 3 seconds off the pace. 11th for Jansrud. You can see just that inside ski bouncing around, the soft snow blasting into the face of the skiers as well. It is more of attrition out there today. Florian Eiseth. Bib 17 for Italy. Coming off a 6th place result in Adelboden. That was his career best in giant slalom. Very different track this to Adelboden. This Kandahar piste is long. Switches around the mountain, all in the trees. A lot of terrain, some off-camber turns. And Eiseth struggling on the top section. Late in the line here. Not getting that clean ski to snow contact, that purchase. Unable to get the real power and force through the ski at the top of the arc. 3.41 off the pace. Nice, struggling a little bit on this Kandahar piece. He'll be glad when this run is over. Looks a little tired here, standing tall across the line. 17th, 127.78, 4.5 off the pace. Stefan Lutz from Germany there, wearing bib 20. A few more races to go before we see him. Schurghofer, wearing bib 18, 32-year-old experienced Austrian. On course, he's grabbed a medal when the World Championships were here. A few seasons ago now. So a course that Schurghofer has gone well on in the past. 8th here, last time out in 2013 on the World Cup Tour. That was the last time we raced here. 0.9 off the pace at the second intermediate split. And Schurghofer through the steep section, just pushed a little late there. Now Schurghofer, oh, he's trapped on the inside. What a recovery from Schurghofer, 1.94. But with that mistake, the speed's gone, just 65 kilometers per hour. The time gap is only going to grow by the time he reaches the finish. And a mistake like that, it just saps the energy away from you as well. Schurghofer into 16th, over 4 seconds off the pace. And straight out of the finish. Here's the trouble. Trapped on the inside ski. Showing he's got some great core strength. Mathieu Favre, 23-year-old from France. Top 10 in Adelboden. Finished in 9th. Starting to pick up the points regularly on the World Cup Tour. Certainly a name to keep an eye on for the future. That was a clean turn. 0.77 off the pace. As Favre approaches the second time check. 1.39. That's okay at this stage. Mathieu Favre through the steeper section. He's trapped a little on the heels. That could cause him some problems. Still having to fight through here. The ski's chattering away. More time lost, 2.41. Now just about staying on a good, clean line, finding the rhythm as the course opens up a little towards the bottom. Mathieu Favre looking for a good start position on the second run into 16th. 126.98, 3.7 off the pace. Man from Isola. This man's going to get a lot of support from the home fans. Stefan Lutz, 22. 20th of the World Championships. Big mistake on the top section, though. Put some 0.92 off the pace at the early intermediate split. And Stefan Lutz starting to find his feet as a World Cup athlete. Getting experience of the different tracks on the World Cup Tour. 1.62 off the pace. Another skier to keep an eye out for the future. The German Federation got high hopes for this young man. Perhaps just a little late in the line through the midsection for Stefan Lutz. 2.69. But can he feed off the energy that this crowd here in Garmisch-Partenkirchen bring to proceedings? It's a spectacular atmosphere. And Stefan Lutz is not giving up here. Fighting hard, pushing right down to the line. Lutz, 3.76, moves it off the pace into 17th place. Big mistake at the top of the course from Stefan Lutz, causing the problems. David Simoncelli, experienced Italian, 17th at the World Championships a couple of weeks ago, wearing bib 21. Chance to look at the standings. It's still Austria at Hirscher and Raich. First and second, Pinturault, Dot for Neureuter. Round out the top five, and Neureuter in fifth, 2.2 off the pace. But of course, Hirscher leading by 1.99. So anyone, for me, within 3 seconds, that can put down a great second run has got a chance of getting on the podium. Simoncelli 2.53 off the pace here. And Simoncelli now all about getting into the second run here. Simoncelli just pushed back in the line slightly. 17, 3.75 off the pace, 127.03. We should see if that holds up. Christoph Nursig from Austria on course. He's been a winner on the Europa Cup Tour, but struggled to get the big results on the World Cup, and over a second back at the first intermediate. 1.92 at intermediate 2, and this is not going to plan for Nursig. Doesn't look like he's settled in the run. Struggling to find the line, the rhythm of this course. Tricky first run set by Raich of Austria. 3.54 now. Course is still in reasonable condition in the bottom section. That's going to give the late starters a chance of breaking into the top 30. And Nursig, 22nd, 4.79. That's the slowest we've seen so far. So Nursig will keep an eye on the standings, see if that does hold up for a second run. You've guessed it, Hirscher still in top spot, 1.99 ahead of everyone else. Then they're all packed within just over a second, down to Jansrud in 11th. Vanara, fraction back, 100th of a second back in 12th. Any one of those athletes is in a position to strike for a podium on the second run. Well, the wonderful course crew here in Garmisch, Partenkirchen get to work on the course while we take a slight break. Benny Raich, second place for him, 37 years old. It was his birthday on Saturday. What a run from Hirscher on run number 1. 1.99 ahead of the rest of the pack. ready with the next challenger, Steve Massilier of France. He's got the advantage of having a clean track, or as clean as it can be at this stage of a race. Some of the loose snow brushed away, scraped away. They've got somebody on every single gate here in Garmisch. Steve Massilier 1.27 back. Into his 30s now. Been on the tour a while. Massilier approaching the second intermediate. And quite far back, 2.07. So Massilier now pushed very late in the line there. Struggling to move from edge to edge. Not the cleanest of runs. Doesn't look as dynamic as the top skiers. Massilier now 3.5 off the pace. Massilier might be in danger of not making the second run. So Massilier, a few more turns to go. Steve Massilier 4.9 back. I'm not sure that is going to hold up for a second run. And he has got nothing left. Such a tough challenge. This Kandahar piece here in Garmisch. Partenkirchen. Gino Caviezel, 22-year-old from Switzerland. Youngster still finding his feet on the World Cup Tour. Did compete at Sochi 2014 just over a year ago. Finished 30th in the giant slalom there. 2.2 off the pace at the second intermediate though. Far from ideal if you want to be on the second run. But still time left on this course to sort out the bottom section. Stay just within touch and sneak in for a second run. 3.14. That midsection was pretty good from Caviezel. Now it is just keep up the fight. Keep up the effort. Draw on every last ounce of strength that you've got in the legs. And Gino Caviezel is doing that here, getting a lot of support from the Swiss fans in the finish. Into 20th place, 4.11 back. That might be a nervous wait now for Gino Caviezel. Giovanni Borsotti, wearing bib 25 from Italy. 0.81 back at the first split. Borsotti trapped a little on the inside. He's taken some risk here as he approaches the second of the time checks. Borsotti finding that tuck position where he can. 1.4 off the pace. This is one of the better runs we've seen so far. Oh, just as I say that. Trapped on the inside ski and out of the course. A promising run comes to an end for Borsotti. Comes through this gate on the inside ski, the hill, everything is pulling you away from the direction you want to be going. Can't make that transition to the new edge and out of the course. We move on to the Italian veteran Manfred Molg, Manny Molg, wearing bib 26. Seen his teammates ski out. Before in, what can Molg do? Skiing a very rounded line. It's not a clean run so far. 0.98 behind. For me, anything under Around about 1.4, 1.3 at the second time check would be really good going. But, this course is taking its toll on the athletes, that's for sure. 1.91 back, and it only gets harder from here. That's where Borsotti went down. No trouble there from Molg. See just how much the athletes are having a fight on this top section, or this mid-section of the course, I do beg your pardon. And Molg now 3.06 off the pace. Late in the line here, he's fighting to get back on. More time lost. Way off the racing line that you want to be on. So Molg, bib 26, might be struggling to make the second run here. And into 25th, 5.15 back. And a big mistake on the bottom section. Where the problems, well, where the time was really, really lost for Manfred Molg. Andre Meret, bib 27. 0.5 off the pace on the top section. That's as good as we've seen for some time. And Andre Meret on a charge on the top section. So can he keep this up into the second of the time checks? No, he can't. Doesn't make the second split. Looked like his inside ski might have just clipped the gate there. And a promising run coming to a close a little early. Oh, it was his right hand clipped the gate, spun him round, and the day comes to an end a little early for Andre Meret. Cyprien Richard just grabbing the last little bits, last deep breaths, focusing on the task at hand, on the challenge ahead, this Kandahar piste here in Garmisch, Partenkirchen. Frenchman. Seen the skier before him ski out before the second intermediate. What can Cyprien Richard do here? Very scrappy on the top section. Sitting a little on the heels for me, 1.16 off the pace. Not driving that upper body through the turn. Scrappy, it's a little messy. Richard at the second split, 2.03. So a lot of work to do for Cyprien Richard on the bottom section. Pushed late in the line here. Again, not getting that clean edge set, but it's such a tough challenge. He's on the inside ski. Nice recovery. 3.35. Getting twisted as well. Just struggling with them, keeping the momentum, that flow from turn to turn. And Richard is going to be some way off the pace here. Into 25th, 4.93. Well, I'm not sure that's going to hold up. Here was the nice recovery, but a lot of the damage was already done there. Blardone now for Italy. Missed the giant slalom. Fair to say in the latter stages of his career, but a nice 12th place result in Adelboden. Pushed lower in the line than he'd have wanted on that turn. The time gap will have grown here. And Blardone, 2.35 back. He's skied in these conditions before. He skied on this hill before. He was 10th here in 2013. Last time we were Racing giant slalom on the World Cup Tour on this Kandahar piste. So Blardoni 3.44 off the pace. What has he got? On the bottom section, can he stay in touch and grab a second run? Blardoni, the veteran from the Italian team, 4.79 into 23rd position. 57 men on the start list today. And every single one of the men still to go will be eyeing up a second run here. Zubcic of Croatia. Youngster now breaking through on the World Cup Tour. He's got to find that consistency on the first run though. Start making more second runs and he can keep building his career. A little late in the line. 2.68 back now. And Zubcic is struggling here on this first run. Looks a little tired already, if you ask me. Oh, and Zubcic. Mistake on the steep section. And the top 30 comes to a close. The first 30 skiers. Well, the Zubcic wearing bib 30, the last of the top 30 out of the course. And that is a real shame for the dynamic Filip Zubcic. Croatian team still looking for a new superstar. After Ivica Kostelic. So after the top 30 have been, Hirscher, of course, still leads the way, 1.99 ahead of the rest of the pack. The top 10 hasn't changed for some time. Raich and Pinturault, second and third. The Germans, fourth and fifth, poised to strike for a podium on home snow. Jansrud and Vanara, not too far back, in 11th and 12th. And for the rest of the top 30, it's about holding on for a second run and then taking advantage of cleaner conditions on that second run with the early start number. Of course, the top 30 reversed for the second run. Well, Pinturault in third had a big mistake on his run, but still hanging on to third. Benny Raich finding some of that form of yesteryear. Started the season with 2 fourth places in giant slalom. Very well positioned today, but Marcel Hirscher with one of the best first runs I think I've ever seen in giant slalom skiing. In his own race today, 1.99 ahead of the rest of the pack. And of course, this course has got some bite. Hirscher still has to do it all again on run 2 on a new pattern of gates. We move on, bib 31. Zan Kranjec, the 22-year-old Slovenian. I really like his style on the course, doesn't hold back. Made his first World Cup start in 2011, that was on home snow in Kranjska Gora, where the tour actually heads. And on the 14th of March, for the giant slalom. And Kranjec approaching the second splits, 2.13 off the pace. That's pretty good at this stage of the race. all of these skiers outside of the top 30 on the start list. It is all about that second run. Getting in, chance to score some World Cup points. 100 for a win, all the way down to 1 World Cup point for 30th place. And Kranjec still looking pretty loose here, looking quite relaxed. And can he hang on? And will we see him on the second run? 4.54, 23rd. Well, it's going to be pretty close. Some big names still to come. Brennan Ruby now for the USA. Just start losing sight of him. There he is. So 2.93. We didn't see the big mistake, but he's out of the course, unfortunately. So Brennan Ruby, his day comes to an end. Dustin Cook, 26-year-old from Mont-Saint-Marie, coming off a very successful World Championships. Grabbed a silver medal in the Super G, but now on the shorter skis in the giant slalom. Can he find that Super G form? Well, if ever there was a course that draws upon Super G skills, it's this Kandahar piste. And Dustin Cook, 3.33 at intermediate 3. And across the line, 19th place. Well, Dustin Cook does draw upon those skills, and that's the best we've seen for some time. Fantastic run from Dustin Cook there. He'll be in the second run for sure. Tommy Ford from the USA, 25-year-old from Mount Bachelor in Oregon, on his return to the World Cup Tour this season. Suffered a horrific injury back in 2013. Free skiing in La Clusaz, and at 2.43 off the pace at the third intermediate. Tommy Ford into 13th place. Wow, what a run from Tommy Ford. Dustin Cook before him as well, into 19th. There are still some fast times to be had on this course. Schmidt of Germany, Hip 35, has seen the two skiers before him put down some great times. A man that's been on the Europa Cup Tour, Schmidt, getting a lot of support. Just looking a little tired, standing very tall, not moving side to side as much. And Schmidt, well, apologies, just didn't quite catch the time there for Alexander Schmidt. Schmidt 5.12 off the pace. Samu Torsti, young Finnish skier, good speed on the gun, 3.74 off the pace and intermediate 3. As the sun starts to break through to the midsection of the course, conditions have certainly eased up. We see the time to qualify, 1:28.4. Can Torsti get inside that? He's just inside it for now, 5.07. I'm not sure that is going to hold on. The start interval shortened for these later skiers. Later start numbers. Phil Brown on course. 3.99 back now. And Brown has to find something magical on the bottom section to get in the top 30. Diving into the tuck position. Brown looks like he might be outside that top 30. He is. Oh, that's a shame. 31st. 5.08 off the pace. There was Ilya Zurbriggen getting trapped. Oh, a nasty crash for Zurbriggen. Both skis off. That's the worst one we've seen today. Thankfully, he's on his feet. So The young Swiss star will have to wait another day. We'll move on, bib 39. So another of the young Swiss challengers, Manuel Pleisch. 2.12 at intermediate 2 is pretty good going. Course holding up pretty well here. Better than I thought it might do for these later starters. 3.17. Pleisch in with a chance of a second run here. Lots of Swiss fans have made the journey to Garmisch-Partenkirchen. A bit more sunshine now, the bottom half of the course. Can Manuel Pleisch ski into a second run? 23rd place. Lovely bottom half of the course from Pleisch. That might just hold up, you know. Roland Leitinger from Austria, wearing a bib 40. 17 skiers to go after him. 4.22. An intermediate 3. So some work to do on this bottom section for Leitinger. 1:28.21 the target time for now. And Leitinger's outside of it. 35th place, no second run for him. Carly Lind of Sweden, wearing bib 41, is out of the course, unfortunately. Bib 42, Justin Maurissier of Switzerland. So Maurissier, 2.24 off the pace at the second intermediate. We'll see a little more of his run as Carly Lind skied out. These shorter intermediates, shorter start intervals, I should say, does unfortunately mean we see less of each skier's run. 3.81 at intermediate 3, so it's still possible for Maurissier. All about maximum effort to the finish. Being as dynamic as you can. Stay on that fast racing line. Maurissier has lost a little more time. It's going to be close. Oh, into 30th place. 4.91 off the pace now. Will that hold on? I'm not so sure. Thomas Tumler, wearing bib 43. 3.19 at intermediate 3. Well, if anyone's going to get into the top 30 now, they're going to be sneaking in. Well, I say that. Tommy Ford and Dustin Cook blowing everyone away. Thomas Tumler, 29th place, 4.8 off the pace. Adam Zampa from Slovakia. This is a man that will attack every single turn. But 4.03 suggests maybe the attacking option isn't quite right. All about smart tactics. Clean, precise turns. Ski a good line. Manage the risk on the run. And Zampa off the pace into 37th. 5.37 back. Marcel Mathis, bib 45 for Austria. .55 second intermediate, 3.85 at intermediate 3. And Marcel Mathis getting trapped on the heels and sitting back and unfortunately out of the race. So Mathis' challenge comes to an end. Alexander Andrienko from Russia, wearing bib 46. on course, and these are some healthy intermediate splits, especially from bib 46. And Andrienko on a bit of a charge here, 3.34. He has got a real chance of making the second run. Did compete at the World Championships, skied out there in Vale Beaver Creek. But Andrienko working hard here, still moving well. Can he get inside that qualifying time? 1:27.66, 4.38 off the pace. 25th place for Andrienko. I think that'll get him in the second run. Vincent Kriekmeier wearing bib 47. Approaching the third intermediate, 3.9 off the pace. Can Kriekmeier squeeze in? Well, Kriekmeier just losing more time on the bottom half of the course, 5.76. It's the bottom section that's really cost Kriekmeier there. Bib 48, Riccardo Tonetti, 2.23, and now 3.98 back. Can only afford to lose about a second on the bottom section, but the speed's not so good. A little twisted. So Tonetti, the time ticking away, and he's outside the top 30 into 40th place, 5.6 back. Dominik Schweiger of Germany. He'll get a lot of support here. Intermediate 3, 4.31. So he needs to be lightning quick on the bottom section to have any chance here. The Germans are going to cheer him on, that's for sure. But valuable World Cup experience here from Dominik Schweiger. It's always a little tougher racing on home snow. There's that extra pressure. 42nd place for Schweiger. I think he'll be a little disappointed with that. Kiefer Christiansen from the USA, wearing at bib 50. Just 7 skiers to go. 4.87 back, and Christiansen with those deficits, unfortunately, not going to make a second run. So Christiansen approaching the finish line. 1 gate to go. 43rd place, 6.28 back. Matteo Casse, young Italian athlete that the Italian Federation have got high hopes for. 3.78 back at intermediate 3. So the time to qualify, 1:28.08. Matteo Casse from Italy. Can he get inside? 36th place for him. 5.11 back. Young Eric Reed from Canada, son of the great Ken Reed. One of the crazy Canucks. 4.49 off the pace. And Eric Reed, famous surname in Canadian ski racing. But Reed still finding his feet on the World Cup Tour. And this, one of the toughest giant slaloms out there. Eric Reed outside of the qualifying time. 44th place for him, 6.27 back. 5 to go on run number 1. Andrea Ballerin wearing a bib 53. He's never made a second run before. 25 years old. 3.58. Well, just about in touch. It needs to be a special last 20 seconds or so of the course. And Andrea Ballerin looking good here. It's going to be very close. Can Ballerin sneak inside? Oh, he does. 27th for Ballerin from bib 53. What a run that was. Christopher Neumeier from Austria. Bib 54. 4.11 back. It's looking like an almost impossible task now to make the second run with that deficit. But Neumeier, he's not going to give up the challenge, that's for sure. And into 47th place, 6.4 back. So now from Finland, Pirinen, and unfortunately Pirinen out. Before we got a chance to see any of his skiing, look back on the replay, just trapped on that inside ski. Can't move that mass across. Get on that new edge. Thomas Mermelot-Blondin, 31-year-old from France. Been on the podium in World Cup Super G competition. And can Mermelot-Blondin from bib 56 do something special here? Well, these are very good intermediates. 2.54. And Mermelot-Blondin is in with a real chance of making the second run here. 2.54 at intermediate 3. And drawing upon the Super G skills on this course, Mermelot-Blondin approaching the line and into 25th place from bib 56. That gets a great cheer from the fans. Fantastic effort. Last man on course, Natko Zernich-Dim. A man that's a bit of a Alpine Combined specialist. Will bring run 1 to a close, and unfortunately 5.67 off the pace at the third intermediate. Means he is not going to have a chance of breaking into the top 30. And Natko Zernich-Dim brings run 1 to a close here in Garmisch-Partenkirchen. 7.70 off the pace. And into 49th spot. So run 1 all in the books here in Garmisch-Partenkirchen. Hirscher leading the way by 1.99, an eternity in ski racing terms. And then they're packed pretty closely after him. Raich, Pinturault, Dot for Neureuter. Olson and Nani, Ligety, the world champion. What a run from Tommy Ford into 13th. Dustin Cook into 20th as well. Those late start numbers really impressing me on the first run. Mermelot-Blondin into 25th and Adrienko 26th. Two of the later starters sneaking in to the top 30 for the second run. Got a tie in 30th place. Christopher Nursig and Blardoni. So there will be 31 skiers on the second run. And these are the men that didn't quite make it through into that second run, but very tough conditions here in Garmisch-Partenkirchen. A long course, a challenging course set. A new pattern of gates will be set now for the second run. Then the top 31 skiers from run number 1 will go in reverse order. Hirscher's first run. How dynamic, how attacking he was, running a tighter, deeper line than anyone else. And the risk paid off for Hirscher. He's moving so well from turn to turn. No let up from start to finish. Spectacular skiing on run number 1 from the Austrian superstar Marcel Hirscher. But he'll be last to go on the second run, and he'll find a different pattern of gates. He won't have the clean track he had on run number 1, and that will present a different challenge. But it's a situation Hirscher has been in many, many times in his career. So Hirscher blowing away the rest of the field on the first run. Nobody even close to him. Shrugged the shoulders, and I think he's a little surprised just how far ahead he was of the rest of the pack.